I called the Pandero the opening act, but now it's finally time for the main event, the Tenora. Hey guys, hello and welcome back. As always, my name is Leyzar, and today we're gonna be diving deeper into this Mastery Rank 10 primary weapon, Octavia's signature weapon, the Tenora. I'm gonna be covering a cheap build, something affordable that anybody can build, but of course we're also gonna have the classic end-game setup with a Riven. Though please keep in mind that my builds and guides usually follow a more new player friendly approach, so if you're a veteran of the game and already know most of this stuff, then please, bear with me. And with that out of the way, let's jump into the Tenora. Let's begin by checking out how the weapon handles without any mods equipped, and for that I'm simply gonna be taking a couple of free shots. You will see that the Tenora is a rifle which acts more like a minigun. At the start of firing you will see that the accuracy is basically all over the place, but the more you fire you will get additional fire rate and accuracy. After about 16 shots the Tenora is a pinpoint weapon and you are no longer spraying all over the place. You also have an alt fire which kind of works like this. Once pressed it will charge up, you cannot hold the shot in and it will release a pinpoint shot which has more crit chance and more crit damage than the normal fire. And it also consumes 10 ammo, so with a full clip of 150 you basically got 15 shots for alt fire. And that is pretty much it. Let's jump into stats to see precisely what we're dealing with. First of all, mod capacity is 60 out of 60, and if your Tenora only has 30 out of 30, then jump into actions and install an Autokin Catalyst. The Autokin Catalyst can be farmed from alerts, invasions, or if you're lucky, from the daily sortie. More often than not, I simply pay 20 plat for it. They're not really as common as I would have liked. My Tenora has been formatted a total of 7 times, but this was done mainly for the purpose of testing, and because I have a Riven for the weapon builds I'm recommending you guys 4-5 format should do it. Accuracy is 12.5, but this accuracy both on the primary and secondary fire is without the full spool up. Keep in mind that while the accuracy is 12.5 on the charge shot, it doesn't really reflect the pinpoint accuracy of this weapon, so keep that one in mind. Next, critical chance for the auto fire is 28% with a multiplier of 2.0, which is definitely decent. The critical chance is pretty good and the multiplier is nice as well. Fire rate 11.67. Just keep in mind that this refers at full spool up, a magazine of 150 and a reload of 2.5. Very little downtime for the Tenora as long as you don't increase the fire rate too heavily, of course. Riven disposition 3 out of 5. When adding new weapons to the game, DE kind of gives them this middle zone, okay? 3 out of 5, so the Rivens will be quite nice, and I got a really nice Riven for you guys a bit later. Status chance is where the weapon suffers, only 16%, and this is kind of how they keep it in check. When it comes to the default damage, the impact, puncture, and slash or the IPS, you have a fairly good balance with puncture being the highest. Now this is definitely not bad, at least it's not as bad as impact. One more thing, you will notice that the impact and the slash are at the same value, 7.2, but as soon as we add mods you will see that that is not truly the case. The impact actually has something like 0.0 something extra. Nothing to be concerned about, but keep it in mind. Next, let's move to the charge shot. The same accuracy, but again, it is pinpoint accurate. The charge rate is 0.8. Sorry, made a boo-boo there, so it's not even a second. 0.8 charge time, after which it will release the bullet. Critical chance is 34%. Absolutely bloody outstanding. Super high crit chance and a super high crit multi at 3.0. And this is where the weapon shines. Fire rate is 10.0. Just keep in mind you do have that 0.8 charge time. A magazine the same, reload the same, and you do have innate 1 meter worth of punch through on the charge shot. Status chance even lower than the auto fire mode, from 16% down to 11%. Now the charge shot you should treat it more as a sniper, and I will highlight a bit later how that one will work. Impact, puncture, and slash once again, and once again the puncture is the highest. In any case, let's start slapping on some mods, starting with the mandatory mods, and there's nothing more mandatory than Serration on most weapon, 165% extra damage. Then we're gonna go into multi-shot with split chamber, 90% multi-shot, and vigilante armament 60% multi-shot. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not calling vigilante armaments 100% mandatory, but it does help. There's not a big difference between split chamber with 90% and vigilante armaments with 60%, and you also have the benefit of the set. 5% chance to enhance critical hits from primary weapons, and considering that the Tenora is a true blue crit weapon, we are going to get some nice value out of that set bonus considering how many bullets, how fast we fire, and so on and so forth. Next, we're gonna go into crit chance and crit damage because once again this is the bread and butter of the weapon. Crit chance with point strike 150% and of course critical damage with vital sense. Now let's check out other stats. Critical chance for the primary fire 70% and for the charge 85%. Absolutely bloody outrageous, and vital sense pumped up our crit multi to 6.6 for the charge. As for the auto, 4.4. Again, this is decent, but this is just absolutely bloody crazy. Keep in mind that the damage that you see on the charge shot is nothing more than 10 times the auto shot, exactly the amount of ammo it consumes, so keep that one in mind. Very well, I got crit chance, I got damage, crit damage, multi-shot. What follows next usually is elemental damage. Just keep in mind that from this point onwards, you gotta decide how you want to build the Tenora, because you do have a couple of options. We're gonna test an elemental build, then we're gonna go into a version or two of the bleed build, and then of course we're gonna wrap it all up with a Riven, because why the hell not? So, elementals, let's talk about them. These should be slapped in and out depending on who exactly are you fighting. If you're going up against the infested, fire is usually more than enough to deal with them. However, if you're going up against Corpus, you can build Toxin, which will bypass their shield and deal damage to their health. You can also build something like Magnetic, which deals extra damage against their shields. Pick and choose. Usually the infested and the Corpus aren't really a threat unless you're going endurance runs and you're seeing level 200s, 300s, then we can talk about it. But normally don't worry too much about them. The Grineer, however, are a bit of a different story because these are heavily armored targets, and you will find two armor types: Alloy, which is weak to radiation damage, and Ferrite, which is weak to corrosive damage. Against Grineer, in general, your best bet is to build corrosive, so why don't we do that? The elemental combo between electricity and toxin. Starting off with electricity, should you go for the 90 mods or for the 60-60 mods? Now, here it depends if you want to take advantage of the charge shot or of the auto shot, because for the auto I would go for the 60-60 mods to get better armor strip for obvious reasons. Yes, we're getting more status chance, though the impact, the benefit isn't a huge one because of the base status chance of 16% on auto. If you're going for maximizing your charge shot, then I highly recommend the 90 mods. It will hit a whole lot harder, again, treat it more like a sniper fire of sorts. So in this case, we're gonna go with high voltage, we're gonna make use of the primary fire, and we're gonna go into stripping some armor. Now, high voltage can be a little bit expensive, between 30 and 50 plat currently on the trade chat PC. This one can be farmed from the mission Na Elgar on the planet Eris. You gotta find all the free secret caches, then upon extraction you got about a 5% chance of getting this one, or Shell Shock, which is the exact same mod but only for shotguns. Trust me, you need both of them, and the grind is absolutely unbearable from my point of view. I wouldn't blame you if you just hit up the trade chat and bought this one. You would save yourself a lot of trouble. In any case, I got my electricity. Let's go into Toxin, and this one is a whole lot more accessible. 10 to 15 plat from the trade chat, farmable from Corrupted Vor in the Void. I would recommend you farm this one. Come on, it's really not that hard to get. 60% Toxin and 60% status chance. Now I got a good status chance for the auto, at least. As for the charge shot, not really all that much. Keep in mind that this is a shot status chance, 50 and 66%. The last slot is what I like to call an option slot. Please cater each and every weapon to your own individual preferences. You guys like punch through? Go for punch through. Keep in mind that you do have innate 1 meter punch through on the charge shot, but you can take it even further with something like Shred. Now let's put on like this. Now, Shred is a fantastic option, especially if you guys have Prime Shred. Honestly, if I had Prime Shred, I would have used that. 30% fire rate and plus 1.2 meters worth of punch through. Now, the increased fire rate will obviously lower our kill time, and as you saw there, that this is a minigun, so it will be 100% glorious. Highly recommend Shred. Now, the fire rate also helps with the charge shot because it will bring down the charge time from 0.8 to 0.62. Solid option, highly recommend, etc, etc. Now, moving on from punch through and all that, let's talk about crit chance and crit damage for the Tenora. Again, this is a crit weapon, and you have two solid options. You can go for Argon Scope, which costs an arm and a leg, 200 plat, and don't worry, I'm not recommending this one. This is a viable option, but here is something that's also viable and doesn't cost an arm and a leg. Bladed rounds. On kill, 120% crit damage while aiming for 9 seconds. Absolutely outstanding mod. Personally, I don't like on kill effects. Sometimes they're not entirely reliable, they're a little bit goofy, but this is one strong mod and I highly recommend it. 10, 15 plat from the trade chat, nice and cheap. But this is an elemental setup and we are going for armor strip. In that case, what I want to do is further increase my elemental combo. Let's keep in mind how IPS works when it comes to proccing status. So my shot status chance is 66.2 currently. Impact, puncture and slash have a 4 times greater chance of proccing over corrosive. So when you're looking at these numbers, look times 4. So the puncture actually is very close to my corrosive. In order to make sure that they're not competing too much, I can add even more corrosive to the weapon with more electricity or more toxin. So let's do that. Either of the two will work quite nicely. I'm gonna add Stormbringer. I got a lot more corrosive now, and this is the initial build we're gonna be testing. Keep in mind Shred again and Bladed Rounds, both are worthy options. We're gonna be spawning in Corrupted Heavy Gunner level 120, and I think this is more than reasonable. I really hope I don't have any arcanes that will cheat, but we'll check on that later. On the left column we'll go for the charge shot, and on the right column we will simply go for the minigun shot. And as you will see, the damage will ramp up the more I strip armor away from these targets. And in a clip I think I can kill 2 to 3 of these high level targets. Now that is definitely pretty good. A lot of crits, and when you see the orange crit, that is Vigilante armaments. I don't have one over 100% crit, but that's what's giving me the orange there. In any case, that was primary fire, and to be honest, that is quite impressive. Once again, I don't have even the fancy Argon scope, and this is charge shot. Pretty good, especially when it orange crits. But again, it's a small chance to do so. And this build does not take advantage of the charge shot. This is more for, once again, the minigun effect. This is not entirely, well, too effective. Just keep in mind that the punch through is hitting the targets behind me. Now, a viable tactic for the Tenora is to strip a little bit of armor from your targets with your primary fire or your auto fire, and then when you see your targets is something like 40-30%, finish them off with a charge shot. That is definitely worth doing if you have one big target, one heavily armored target. And that is going to be the initial build I'm recommending to you guys. Just keep in mind that the last slot, Stormbringer or Infected Clip, this is entirely your option. You can plug in Shred, you can plug in crit damage, whatever you desire. But without Stormbringer or Infected Clip here, my corrosive will actually lose procs to puncture. So keep that one in mind. Next, we're gonna switch to a bleed build, and I kept my mandatory mods. Serration, Point Strike, Vital Sense, and Split Chamber. These 4 are a must-have. Vigilante armaments, that is a bit debatable, but for now, we're going to keep it. Now, remember what I said earlier when it comes to the impact being just a little bit higher than the slash? You can see it now, 47.3 versus 47.2. As when you slap a little bit of damage on the weapon and multi-shot, you're gonna see there is a small difference there. I didn't talk about heavy caliber earlier, did I? Now, heavy caliber is a worthy choice. Just keep in mind that while your weapon is getting to full fire rate and accuracy, heavy caliber is an absolute pain. Even at full accuracy, your multi-shots resulting from split chamber and vigilante armaments kinda go astray. I'm simply not comfortable with heavy caliber on the Tenora, but this is strictly preference based. If you guys want to go for it, by all means, go for it. It is bearable at full spool up, so keep that one in mind. Let's talk about slashes now. These can be obtained one of 2 ways. You can either use Hunter Munitions, which currently is a very overpowered mod in Warframe and basically works on everything that has a good crit chance, or you can go through the weapon's innate slash value. We do have a slash value here, and we can further amplify it with something like Fanged Fusillade. And now it's going to be the highest out of all the elements we're going to slap on. Times 4, that is 400 something. So definitely nice. However, keep in mind that the Tenora has a low status chance of 16% on auto and only 11% on the charge shot. Even with 60/60 mods, I'm still not going to get that many slashes if I'm going through the weapon's innate slash value. And I also have to use Fanged Fusillade, so there's another mod I gotta be using. Adding percentage based slash to a weapon does nothing but increase the status proc chance in the pecking order of slash. It adds no real damage, so keep that one in mind. It's simply not viable, but I thought I should mention it. Of course, we're gonna go with the most overpowered thing since forever, Hunter Munitions. 30% chance to apply a slash status to an enemy on critical hit. We do loads of critical hits, so we're gonna be getting plenty of slash. Next, we're gonna make viral damage. Viral damage currently in Warframe is an outstanding elemental combo, as it will yield good or great results in almost every circumstance, and viral is the combination between cold and toxin. On a status proc, it will reduce the maximum health of a target to 50% for the duration of the viral effect. So in a way, your slashes will be dealing double damage. The only downside is that it might slip off the target, the viral effect, before it bleeds out, and then you have to reshoot at your target, and that is no longer efficient. So keep that one in mind. For the Tenora, I highly recommend you go for the 90 mods. This is not an armor strip build, so you don't need 1,000 applications of the status chance like you would with the corrosive. You just need 1-2 good viral apps, so go for cryo rounds, 90% cold. Next we're gonna go into toxin with infected clip. And this is gonna be the second build I'm recommending to you guys, so why don't we test it? I'll be honest here, I don't really like how strong Hunter Munitions is, and I prefer my corrosive setup simply because big numbers, yes I know, but still I cannot deny the power of Hunter Munitions. For a build such as this, what you want to do is shoot a target till about 50% health, then let the viral together with the slashes do the magic, and you will see this is extremely efficient. The value of the slashes isn't really all that high. You do have a couple of higher slashes, but as you can see, you can get situations such as this when the viral application simply slips off the target before it bleeds out. In that case, you have to reshoot it. This is one of the reasons I do not like viral builds, but they can be, as you can see, extremely efficient. When it comes to the alt fire, well, this is where you get bigger slashes. Please give slash. There we go. That is a pretty big slash, 5,800 something in comparison to the 388 of the normal shot of the Tenora. So definitely you can go for something like this. This will be a whole lot more viable when it comes to endurance runs. If you guys want to stay in a defense or a survival for about an hour or two, you will be glad you have a slash build. But that's enough for that. Let's switch to another version of the slash build. We're gonna keep Hunter Munitions and Vigilante armaments. We're gonna forget about viral altogether, and we're gonna go more into getting the most out of Hunter Munitions. First of all, I gotta increase my crit chance, so every shot that lands on the target has that 30% chance from Hunter Munitions. And I can only really do that with Argon Scope. Now you do have other options. Critical delay. Now if you slap on critical delay, your critical chance goes to 83.4%. This mod works on certain weapons when you can align the fire rate to the recoil. Unfortunately, I do not really recommend it for the Tenora. Hammer shot, this is another decent option. Critical damage for the Tenora, absolutely. 40% status chance unfortunately isn't all that much, and the base status chance of the Tenora isn't all that great. Instead of hammer shot, 100% go for Vigilante armaments. But back to our Argon Scope. 135% crit chance while aiming for 9 seconds. This is an on-headshot effect. Considering how many bullets the Tenora spits out, you have no problem in keeping Argon Scope up. And with this one, my critical chance goes over 100% for both auto shot and charge shot. Next, crit damage. But once again, the mod I presented earlier, bladed rounds. You should really have this one. This is an outstanding mod, even though it's on kill effect, and this will increase the value of my slashes. So more slashes through Argon Scope and higher value slashes through bladed rounds. And this is going to be the second variation of the slash build. This one is a bit more potent. Unfortunately, you have to have Argon Scope, which still is bloody expensive, about 200 plat currently on PC from the trade chat or from Warframe market. Now with this build, I'm gonna have to get a kill in order to get the full benefit of the build because of bladed rounds, and that should do it. There we go. I got my crit damage, I got my extra crit from Argon Scope, and as you will see, I am putting a lot more bleeds on the target, and the values are a whole lot higher as well. From 388 to 599. Now that is a whole lot better, and you're no longer relying on that stupid viral effect. When it slips off the target, it simply pisses me off. I know I'm being a little bit biased towards it, and if you have prime cryo rounds, that is gonna work absolutely beautiful for a viral build, but I do prefer a setup such as this if I'm going for slashes. Though keep in mind, when it comes to scaling, if you're hitting really high level enemies, I don't know, 300, 400, then the viral will have a great effect because once again, it's a percentage based decrease of their health to 50%. So keep that one in mind as well. There we go. That's a lot of slashes and that's a lot of damage. Very well, we tested bleed, we tested standard elemental. It's time for a Riven setup, and my Riven is actually quite nice. I don't normally pay a lot for Rivens. I paid 300 for this one because I simply love the Tenora. Tenora Acricorn, crit chance, crit damage with minus reload speed. Now the negative is not 100% harmless, but it's not terrible either. I got crit chance, chance, I got crit damage, I got an over 100%, 118% crit chance now for the auto shot, and for the charge shot 143.5. Now you'll notice that I'm no longer using the 60/60 mods. Instead, I opted for Stormbringer together with Infected Clip, the 90 mods, and bladed rounds for more crit damage. What gives? Well, I'll be honest here, I really love the alt fire of the Tenora, and this is not what you call a smart build. This is simply what I prefer to run. And that is honestly the only reason I need to build a weapon like this. And I'm gonna show you exactly what this one can do with a nice Riven. We're gonna go like so. Then we're gonna use the charge shot, because once again, this is what I love about this weapon. In about 3 shots, I am able to take out these guys. This is absolutely awesome. This is normally how I play the Tenora, heavily into her alt fire. Not because it's efficient, not because it's the smartest idea or something like that, simply because it's fun. All the reason you should need to play a weapon a certain way. I know I min-max a lot and I try to give you guys the best solutions, but do try to have fun above everything else. In any case, there's one more thing I want to do before going, and that is pick up Lady Mirage Prime, and then we're gonna max absolutely everything with Warframe buffs. What I wanted from the Tenora is to get a one-shot with the alt fire on these targets. Without Warframe buffs, however, I was not able to do that. But with Warframe buffs, Lady Mirage Prime, let's see what kind of buffs she's got, but I don't really like her appearance. There we go. Can't go out looking like that now, can we? We got Rifle Amp with 27% extra damage to rifles, though keep in mind when going up against Grenier, your safest bet is Corrosive Projection. This will give you better results, however, Rifle Amp will grant its benefit regardless of the target. And there is a way to amplify the effects of an aura. It's called Coaction Drift. And this one is not expensive at all, by all means go for it. 15% aura strength and 15% aura effectiveness. So if you guys are into auras, by all means check this one out. And if you're confused exactly about the benefit this one brings, check out the wiki. They have a nice table there explaining all the benefits, min-maxing and all that stuff. Next, let's talk about Arcanes. Arcane Rage is mandatory. If you guys have Arcane Rage, by all means use this one on headshot. 10% chance for plus 120% damage to rifles for 16 seconds. Now this one can be farmed from the third Eidolon down on Cetus, and it's definitely worth it. Currently on the trade chat, the R3 is going for about, I don't know, 100 and 120 plat. Please check Warframe market before attempting to purchase or sell. Next Arcane is going to be Arcane Acceleration on critical hit, 20% chance for plus 60% fire rate rifles for 6 seconds. This works absolutely beautiful on the Tenora, though it kind of forces me into carrier together with ammo case, because it kind of shoots my ammo efficiency. But this also means that my charge shot will be a whole lot faster. And you can also go for Arcane Avenger. In the case of the Tenora is not as potent, I would go for acceleration over it. Again, Arcane Avenger is really good when it comes to weapons that have a low default critical chance. There we go, now we're looking all spiffy. We're gonna respawn once again the exact same targets, and I'm gonna activate Mirage's third ability for a massive damage increase, as well as her clones. And once again I can simply tear through them at this point. It doesn't really matter anymore. I mean, this is absolutely beastly. But I do love my charge shot, because look at that, absolutely bloody awesome, isn't it? The Tenora is a solid rifle for MR10, you cannot go wrong for this one. Now there are other options, stuff like the Soma Prime. I'm even gonna call the Breton Prime an option, what's wrong with that? But you cannot go wrong with the Tenora. As always, my name has been Leyzar. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, favorite, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. If you have any feedback for me or would like to request a specific weapon review, then by all means, leave it in the comment section down below. I can't realistically promise you that it will be done by next time or even within a week, but I will be reading through each and every comment. But until next time, guys, bye bye.